My name's Gary Schotten, and I'm going to talk to you about something that's really dear to my heart. It's the subject of how consistency and sticking with it pays off. Persistence pays. To do this, I want to talk a little bit about my father, my dad. And you'd have to know that I was born and raised on a wheat farm and a cattle ranch in the eastern part of Colorado. And this is a great life to be raised in, and of course I'm just a typical farm kid, not afraid of work. We always expected to work from when we were small children on, not little bitty kids, but we're driving tractor when we're 9 and 10 years old. We didn't work overly hard, but it was just expected, and we wanted to do it. After all, we made a quarter an hour. Man, we're getting rich at this, and so we kind of fought over being able to work and drive tractor and what have you. But through those years, being a youngster, having a dad that's an entrepreneur, I was blessed to observe just as second nature someone that had this concept of persistence pays off in the end. My dad had a great opportunity to quit on many occasions. First of all, my dad had an overall goal of being a millionaire. Now, he didn't talk about it all the time. In fact, I didn't hear about it till later. And then when you think about him being raised in the early 40s, and I was born in 51, being a millionaire was like today being a 10, 20 million, or maybe even 100 million in comparison of buying power. So this was a big goal. And so he's launched out on his own efforts to show that persistence pays. And he started farming for other farmers, and that they owned the land, and he bought the tractors finally and had the equipment. And it was quite a few years, 20 years or longer, before he actually bought his first piece of land. And through those years, he had bad crops. He had crops that would fail. He was in the cattle business, and the cattle business has this, the price of fat cattle would go up and down and up and down. And one time he got caught with like 2,000 or 3,000 head of cattle in feedlots, and the price was dropping. In an 18-month period, I'm telling you, this is the one of 3 times I ever did see a small tear come out of my dad's eye, because he lost $600,000. $600,000 in about an 18-month period. And he didn't know, I didn't know the pressure that he was on, but he stuck with it. He had persistence. He saw it through. He had the attitude, hey, if I quit now, the only thing that's going to happen is I'm going to lose everything. And he continued buying cattle because he knew that the cattle market was going to turn around, and he gained most of it back in the next 18 to 24 months. He was a man of persistence. Now that probably gave me some bit of my character. I'm not overly bragging. I'm not telling you how special I am. I'm just telling you that I learned that persistence paid. I went to college. I wanted to drop out of college. I thought I better not, because persistence pays. I went to my first job of working for a big oil company, and I wanted to quit a couple of times. They were not fair with me. I was making less money than I should be making. I was working more hours than I should have. I didn't complain. Persistence pays off, and it did. I owned my first business. I start with a small horse trailer drawn behind my family car, and I start moving people. And I started this moving storage company with very little, or actually no money. And I can tell you there was multiple times, many times, hard work, tired, frustrated, a customer doesn't pay me. We get taken advantage of on in this situation, or we actually make a legitimate mistake and we have to repair it, and I have to take a loss on several jobs. It was tough. We had workers that stole from us. We had people that tried to start a new business using my equipment and compete against me in my own business. It was not absolutely a bed of roses every day. I had my second in command person embezzle from me and take my money and move to another state. I'm not crying the blues. I'm telling you, persistence pays. I didn't give up. I could get up the next morning and say, with God's help, I can make it through the day. And then I have plateaus where there's success. I wasn't always under this pressure, but a lot of pressure. We cannot give up when it becomes a little difficult. We actually can't give up when it becomes real difficult. We have to persist through. Now there's times that this is just not going to work. This is not an embarrassment if someone's filed bankruptcy. Please don't take it that way. Please understand there are exceptions, there's situations, but most of the time, if the attitude is, I just will not quit. There's no way I'm going to quit. I don't care what happens. You can take it from me, but my last grip of my hands on whatever I'm doing, you're going to have to pry them off in order to get that last attempt. And many times that'll make it through. You'll make it through that way. I have to say that part of my persistence was a godly thing. I wanted to be a giver to the gospel. I wanted to be a giver financially, and I helped to have God help me through those tough times. So I'm not talking about just hankering up, being calloused and hard. You can cry out to God for help, and He'll help you because He knows you're not going to quit. He sees the character inside of you. That's the kind of worker that I'm looking for, somebody that will stick with it, even though it doesn't look like it's going to work or working at the time. I like to think of it's kind of like when you play the guitar. I played the guitar for a while. I don't play now, but I know enough that when I played the guitar and was learning and I was practicing a lot, the ends of my fingers really hurt. Man, they hurt. And I would play harder and they would kind of like feel like there's blisters. Those nerves hurt. And you know what? I knew I had to persist. I had to continue playing the guitar because I'm building calluses. Calluses. And you see somebody that plays the guitar a lot, and you'll see right on that fingers that does the fingering on the guitar, there's really like the heels of your foot, calluses built up. Well, that only came because they pushed through. That persistence pays. They wanted to play the guitar. I encourage you to think that way. I encourage you to stick with it that way. I encourage you to be steadfast, immovable in what you're doing, and let it become a success.